What's up everybody, Damon here, and in today's gaming news, PS5 just hit an impressive milestone, Blizzard is warning some Diablo 4 players, and 2 classic Zelda games return. This is your daily fix. PlayStation 5 has hit an impressive sales milestone, although the console is currently tracking slightly behind the PlayStation 4. Sony announced it had sold 40 million PS5 consoles as of July 16th. According to analysis from Ampere's Piers Harding Rolls, the PS5 reached 40 million at a slightly slower rate than its predecessor. PS4 hit 40 million 2 months earlier in its life cycle. And the PS5 is currently tracking around 1 million consoles behind in terms of sell-through. PS4 remains the fastest selling PlayStation ever. Harding Rolls said, this pace of adoption is allowing Sony to close the adoption gap when compared to the previous console generation, making up for poor availability of the PS5 in its first 2 years on sale. Ampere is currently forecasting PS5 sell-through of around 21 million in 2023. Sony boss Jim Ryan said, "We launched PS5 in November 2020 and the world was in a strange and different place than when we announced the console in 2019. Despite the unprecedented challenges of COVID, our teams and our partners worked diligently to deliver PS5 on time. We continued to face headwinds with the pandemic and it took months for supply chains to normalize so we could have the inventory to keep up with demand. For more months than I care to remember, we kept thanking our community for their patience while working through these issues. But now PS5 supply is well stocked and we are seeing that pent-up demand finally being met." Ryan said there are now more than 2,500 PS5 games available. Upcoming PS5 exclusives include Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine from Insomniac, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from Square Enix, and a Last of Us multiplayer game from Naughty Dog. Microsoft does not announce Xbox Series X and S sales, although last month it mentioned both consoles had an accumulated user base of over 21 million during a presentation at a games event in Brazil. Based on this data, PS5 is outselling Xbox Series X and S by roughly 2-1. Blizzard has told Diablo 4 players to stop using game-modifying software or risk their account suffering a permanent ban. In a message posted to the Blizzard forums, Diablo community chief Adam Fletcher made clear the developer's position on unauthorized modifications, many of which it said are used to cheat. Fletcher even called out one piece of software called Turbo HUD 4, which has proved a popular option among the community, especially hardcore players pushing against the outer edges of Diablo 4's endgame. The statement reads, "We are committed to keeping the world of Sanctuary a safe and fair place for all players, and our game security team constantly monitors for cheats and unauthorized modifications." All Diablo 4 players agreed to the Blizzard EULA as a condition of playing the game. The EULA explicitly prohibits cheating, bots, hacks, and any other unauthorized software which automates, modifies, or otherwise interferes with the game. This is important to player security as well as the game's long-term integrity. With that in mind, we want to make it clear that Turbo HUD 4, like any game-modifying software, is prohibited for use with Diablo 4. Players who install this kind of software will put their accounts at risk for disciplinary action, which can include permanent suspension. According to its website, Turbo HUD 4 adds a customizable overlay to Diablo 4. This lets you make changes to the world map, add aspect names to the character sheet, and configure plugins. You can also use it to reveal dungeon maps, add a missed items counter to the screen, and add a resource counter. While many of these features are considered useful quality of life changes Diablo 4 could do with in an official capacity, Blizzard's concern is that software such as Turbo HUD 4 can also be used for cheating in its always online game. It's an interesting statement to the context of Blizzard's philosophy for its other games. World of Warcraft, for example, has for many years let players use add-ons that modify the experience. And Turbo HUD 4 itself has been around for years, used by some Diablo 3 players to boost their play. Nintendo Switch Online has added the Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. The Game Boy Color Classics are now playable for everyone with a Nintendo Switch Online membership as part of the Game Boy Nintendo Switch Online library. Oracle of Seasons and Ages are 2 action-adventure Zelda spin-offs developed by Flagship, a subsidiary of Capcom, and released in 2001 for the Game Boy Color handheld. In Oracle of Ages, Link can bend time. For example, if a river blocks Link's path in the present, he can travel to the past and move a stone, redirecting the flow of water. He can even plant a seed in the past and in the present see full-grown trees and vines. In Oracle of Seasons, Link can change the seasons. If Link finds a small plant at the bottom of a cliff, by transforming the season to spring, he can use the newly grown flower to get to the top. He can also turn lake water into ice by shifting the season to winter. Now that I describe them out loud, they both sound very similar, don't they? IGN gave both of these games a 10 out of 10 back in 2001. And finally today, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the most anticipated role-playing video games of the year. But fans of developer Larian's previous, much-loved Divinity Original Sin series are wondering whether its story will ever be continued. The answer? A Divinity Original Sin sequel is a definite, but don't hold your breath for an announcement. Larian boss Sven Vincke has confirmed the studio will return to the world of Divinity Original Sin and continue its story, but not before staff have taken a well-earned break following the launch of Baldur's Gate 3 next month. Vincke said, "It's our own universe we built, so we're definitely going to get back there at some point. We'll first finish this one, Baldur's Gate 3, and then take a break, because we will need to refresh ourselves creatively also. You're seeing 400 developers putting their heart and souls into this. You're getting the best of them and their craft into this game, and so I can tell you, it's quite a thing." Belgian studio Larian kicked off its Divinity role-playing series in 2002 with Divine Divinity. Beyond Divinity followed in 2004, and Divinity 2 launched in 2009. Divinity Original Sin came out in 2014, but it was 2017's Divinity Original Sin 2 that propelled Larian into the big time with millions in sales and universal critical acclaim. Ports and a definitive edition followed, with thousands still playing years later. Baldur's Gate 3, which Larian has developed under license from Dungeons & Dragons owner Wizards of the Coast, launches in August, 6 years after Original Sin 2 came out. If Larian moves on to Divinity Original Sin 3 next, it will likely be years before we see or hear anything about it, let alone play it. And that is your Daily Fix for Thursday, July 27th. Now that you're caught up on the news, watch the announcement trailer for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. I'm Damon Hadfield, and for all your gaming news, stay tuned to IGN.